Hi, you guys. My name is Natalie Louise, and welcome to an episode of New Day with Natalie. So this episode is actually going to be broken up into 3 parts, and today's episode will be part 1 of the 3-part series, where we are going to understand the psychology behind why you are so addicted to your avoidant ex. We're going to be talking all about the anxious avoidant trap and why you are attracted to avoidance if this isn't the first time you have been dumped by an avoidantly attached person. Without further ado, let's jump right into this episode. Why is it so challenging to let go of an avoidantly attached ex when compared to any other relationship that you've had? Like, it feels like you're so addicted to this person. With any avoidantly attached ex situation, there's going to be 2 parties, right? You have the one person that is crazy about love, crazy about wanting attention. This person would be the anxiously attached person. But anxiously attached people typically have parents that made them feel unworthy or just not good enough, okay? So as a result, their self-esteem is bruised. As they grow and evolve into their adult relationships, they're still taking that wound into those adult relationships. Their main fear as an anxiously attached person is abandonment or getting rejected, okay? Now, on the flip side, the second character in the situation would be the avoidantly attached person, or the person that's like, just give me some space. Oh my gosh, okay? So in this situation, avoidantly attached people in their childhood, they probably had parents that forced them to be self-sufficient and do everything on their own. And in some cases, the roles were reversed, where the avoidantly attached child had to parent its caretaker, if that makes sense. So basically, you're taking on a pretty big role as a child, like emotionally taking care of a parent. Things that parents or caretakers should be doing for the child, the avoidantly attached person had to do for their caretaker. As a result, the avoidantly attached person, as they grow and evolve, look at intimacy as a job, because they saw as a child doing these things and taking care of their parents and taking care of the household, that felt like a job. And so when you're in a relationship and taking care of another person, they also look at that as a job. Why are relationships where there's an anxiously attached person and an avoidantly attached person so addictive? The reason why is because both parties find similar or familiar characteristic traits in the opposite person that make them feel comfortable and safe. For example, anxiously attached people, they were taught to be very quiet and just to obey their caretaker when they were younger. Like, that was a coping mechanism because they didn't want to bother their parents, right? And so if they did speak up and they did share their opinion, they might have gotten yelled at, they might have gotten shut down. And as a result, that's where the self-esteem was bruised. That's where it started. And so they learned that, okay, if it's better for me to just be quiet than to speak my mind, okay? Unconsciously, anxiously attached people choose to date people or choose partners in their life that do not want to attach to them, so that they can basically recreate the same experience that they had as a child, right? Because it felt like their parents never really attached to them. They were kind of pushing them away, telling them to be quiet. And so they find partners that basically do the same thing. It's kind of like an illusion, because at first it feels like their partner is the one that's going to save them and make them feel good about themselves and improve their self-esteem. But then in the end, the partner that they choose, which is typically an avoidantly attached partner, is actually the person that destroys their self-esteem even more and destroys all levels of trust. That childhood experience that the anxiously attached individual experience basically lays down the foundation for what feels familiar in the future. We typically as humans like to do things that feel comfortable and are known and familiar, right? So if this was an experience that they had as a child in childhood, then they're going to do the same thing again in their adult relationships in the future. So that childhood experience that, again, lays down the foundation, that is the engine that is pushing forward and basically curating all relationships in the future. Anxiously attached and avoidantly attached people fall into this trap, and that trap is addictive in itself because one person's always running and the other person's always chasing. With that, the cycle just continues on and on and on. So I'll quickly go over what the anxious avoidant trap is and why it is so addictive. Stage 1 is all about seeking a partner. Because of the childhood of the anxiously attached individual, they feel like all relationships in the future in their adulthood are going to be unsuccessful. They typically seek a partner that does not want to be intimate because that, again, is familiar to them and it makes them feel safe. Or they just pick a partner that's really good at mimicking intimacy. Like, they feel like they want to be intimate with them and have this long-term relationship, but in reality, reality, they don't. They're just good at like faking it. And so the anxiously attached person, again, likes the familiarity of the character traits that the avoidantly attached person has, but they also like to subconsciously prove their theory correct that relationships are always going to be unsuccessful and they're never going to find someone that will truly make them happy and stay with them long term. Because again, the fear of rejection will always kick in, and that's what they believe on a subconscious level. On the flip side, avoidantly attached people were taught at a very young age to be self-sufficient, like I mentioned. So they typically, on a subconscious level, seek partners that are unable to be sufficient on their own. And so they think that they have to step in and become this like caretaker to them. Again, tapping into that intimacy as a job mindset. And they come into the relationship and they have to take care of this person, and it gives them some sense of like meaning and purpose in life. And it makes them feel like they're taking care of their caretaker, again, as if they were a child back in the past. Does that make sense? The next stage is the match made in heaven. So this is typically like the honeymoon stage, when the anxious and the avoidantly attached person have this extremely strong magnetic connection. Is the anxiously attached person tricks themselves into believing that love is real with this avoidantly attached person. That's like the honeymoon phase, when like everything feels good, everything's running smooth. The narrative in your mind starts flying off into this like, we're gonna get the house, the kids, the dog, like everything's gonna be amazing, like this is my person. It all of a sudden feels comfortable inside, right? And the anxiously attached person can view the avoidantly attached person as like the knight in shining armor, the one that's going to save this anxiously attached person from whatever is going on in their life and make them feel like they are seen and improve their self-esteem and validate them, essentially. On the flip side, avoidantly attached people during this honeymoon phase also thrive because they feel like they have all of this power and control in the relationship, because they think they are the ones like melding the two together, and because they are finally saving this person that cannot be self-sufficient on their own, they are coming into the picture and being like, I can be the savior for you. Without me, who would you be, essentially? And they like being the caretaker of the anxiously attached person. Again, this is all on a subconscious level. They're not saying like, I am your caretaker. Okay, then the next stage is the dysfunctional equilibrium. This is when you start to feel the pullback from one of the characters in the story. Typically, it's the avoidantly attached person, because they feel so suffocated by having this other person in their life and kind of like taking over all of their independence. And they feel like they kind of lose control, because the avoidantly attached person might start to fall in love with this anxiously attached person. And when you fall in love, you lose control and you don't really know what's going to happen on the other side. And they do not like that feeling at all. So the easiest thing to do is just pull back and emotionally disconnect. On the flip side, though, anxiously attached people start to freak out because they worry that the avoidantly attached person is in fact pulling away, and their greatest fear, which is rejection and abandonment, is coming to light. And they're basically proving their theory correct. And again, the anxiously attached person only chose this partner, the avoidantly attached person, in the first place because it was familiar, because they knew on a subconscious level that the avoidantly attached person was never intimately invested at all. So typically the coping mechanism that kicks in for the anxiously attached person, which is the same thing that they probably did when they were younger, was cling on tighter or grab the attention of their partner. So like when the anxiously attached person was a child, what they might have done is like start like screaming or crying or doing something to grab the attention of the caretaker so that they would come over and protect them, keep them safe, and give them attention. What the anxiously attached person in adult relationships does is pretty much the same thing. They will start to cling on tighter, which is could be anything from like giving random gifts or wanting to hang out more or sending more texts, or just like getting all up in their face, and maybe like the stalking might start as well. So you start like wondering, why aren't they acting the same? Like, why don't they want to hang out with me? And the anxiously attached person starts to really feel the anxiety of this person potentially pulling away from the relationship and causing their primary fear, which is rejection and abandonment, to come to life. The next stage is covering up the pain. So this is like when two people are in a relationship, but you know it's not working out, and it's like, who's going to be the first one to end it? During this stage, either the breakup happens or it's like the really uncomfortable period where you never really know, like, why are we even in a relationship? That sort of like feeling every single day until someone finally cuts it off, which is typically the avoidantly attached person, because the anxiously attached person doesn't want to rip a band-aid. What happens during this phase, which is covering up the pain, which is like you just went through a breakup, it's extremely uncomfortable, which is probably why you're watching this video right now. The anxiously attached person acts like a complete fool trying to win back the avoidantly attached person by changing their identity, by changing their hobbies, by changing their lifestyle in order to grab the attention attention of the avoidantly attached person, because they think on like a subconscious level, if they change who they are and become the person that the avoidantly attached person wants to see, then perhaps they will come back and try to win them again. But that's not how it works at all. The avoidantly attached person decides to turn to other anxiously attached people to cover up the pain or to fill in the void by, again, just finding another target that is also anxiously attached. This could all be done on a subconscious level. Like, they're not evil people. They just do not know what's going on because they've never taken the time to reflect inward. Some other things that the avoidantly attached person could do during this phase is experiment with drugs, alcohol, sex, or they could really just put their head down and start to overwork, over-exercise, over-shop, overeat, do all the things to the extreme in order to, again, fill in the void and cover up the pain and not feel what they are truly feeling. Again, this is all being triggered because of their childhood, because of their past, and they've never taken a moment to understand the blueprint in which they are running on and the reason why they keep choosing these specific partners. And this is a really painful stage because both partners are like, what's going on? Like, the anxiously attached person is in a ton of pain and the avoidantly attached person is also in a ton of pain. But the ironic thing is both partners are starving for intimacy. They just don't know how to have a relationship because they haven't healed their core wounds, okay? So that brings me into the next stage, which is starving for intimacy. Anxiously attached people are constantly looking for a knight in shining armor to basically come into their life and save them, take them out of their misery, whatever their definition of misery is, and make them feel like they are loved and that this person will absolutely never leave them. Because again, that is their biggest fear, which is getting rejected, being abandoned, and not being loved at their core, because they never felt like they were loved at their core when they were a child. Anxiously attached people also look for partners that will indirectly boost their self-esteem to make them feel like they are somebody and make them feel confident in themselves, even though they don't have that self-esteem on their own. Like, if their partner left them, they'd be like, I'm a worthless piece of shit and I can't do anything. That's why they pick people that make them feel like they're a little bit better, and they almost put those people, the avoidantly attached partner, on a pedestal because it makes them feel like they have a purpose in life. They basically use their partner as their purpose. So the reason why they use their partners to boost their self-esteem is because they never received that boost of self-esteem when they were a child from their caretakers, from their parents, okay? On a subconscious level, are starving for confidence, for self-esteem, for intimacy, for a true relationship where someone is going to love them and not leave them, because that is their biggest fear. But at the same time, they can't find it because they keep looking for the same type of person that has the similar familiar characteristic traits that their parents had when they were a child. And they keep falling into the same relationships over and over and over again. And that's why anxiously attached people give up and say, I'm never going to date anyone. I'm going to live by myself. Just give up, essentially. Okay. It's ironic though, because avoidantly attached people feel the same exact way, but it's for different reasons. Okay. So avoidantly attached people, during the stage where they are starving for intimacy, this is when they feel like their partner, the anxiously attached person that they dumped, they have moved on, they're living their life, they're doing their thing. And now all of a sudden the avoidantly attached person is like, well, wait a second. Why am I not that person's center of attention anymore? What happened to the energy? Because all of a sudden they feel like they are not a part of the anxiously attached person's life anymore. Maybe the anxiously attached person has moved, or they got a new job, or they're dating someone else, or they're just doing something else with their life, essentially. The worst part is for the avoidantly attached person is they miss out on the attention that the anxiously attached person was feeding to the avoidantly attached person, okay? They start to feel the pain of being a nobody to this anxiously attached person, and they don't like that. And all of a sudden, they don't feel like anybody needs them anymore. And they feel like they are so alone in this world because no one's going to call them up and be like, I need you to do X, Y, Z, or I want you back in my life because I love you, or whatever it is. They don't feel needed. They feel worthless, and they feel like, what's the point anymore? What's the purpose anymore of life? They feel like they are no longer that caretaker that they thought they had to be. And all of a sudden, this deep pain of not being needed is so intense that the first thing they think of doing is winning back the person that they dumped in the first place. Because they no longer feel superior, so they have to do something about it. Again, it's all about control. And it's ironic because once they get the independence back in their life and the control back in their life, they want to give it up again to win this person back, because all they want is to feel fulfilled and needed. It actually triggers a very deep abandonment wound, which is very similar to what the anxiously attached person also feels, okay? And again, that was just like a survival mechanism. It kicks in over and over and over again because that's all they know. That's what's familiar. Does that make sense? Because they always had to take care of someone else, whether it be another partner in a relationship or their parents when they were younger, they never really experienced love or felt love from anyone. And so when they do feel it from a romantic partner in their adult relationships, they don't know what the hell it is and they freak out. And with anyone, it's like if you freak out about something, you probably want to run away from it because it's like, this is unknown, this isn't familiar, this is scary. And so your first instinct is probably to run away. However, if you dig deep into it, if the avoidantly attached person does that, then they probably figure out why it's so painful, why it's so scary, and why they keep doing the same thing in all relationships. Now, the next stage is the return, okay? And this is probably why you're watching the video, because your avoidantly attached ex has returned to you, or you're like, this cycle has gone on so many times, I need to learn how to get out of it. The return for the anxiously attached person is interesting because they probably already moved on. They're just like, they're not coming back. I'm just going to go and live my life, right? But as the avoidantly attached person starts to peek back into their life by maybe like sending a quick text message or responding to like some sort of DM on social media or something like that, the anxiously attached person all of a sudden starts to feel seen again and starts to feel validated again and starts to feel like there is hope with this person. And so they take that little ounce of like 1% that this person might come back into their life, they hold on to that and they think, you know what, my knight in shining armor is coming back yet again. And they think it's like, well, they've left before in my life, they're going to come back again. And they put all of their hope and all their eggs in one basket and believe they are coming back. And so that's what's happening on the anxious side. But on the avoidantly attachment, they are being deprived of the role of being a caretaker. So what they do, the first thing, like I said, they try to seduce the anxiously attached person or like manipulate if they're a crazy person into getting their anxiously attached ex or partner into liking them again. Okay. And the reason why they do that is because they want to feel like they are in control again. They know how to win this person over in a romantic way, which that could be seduction. It doesn't have to be like a negative seduction, but they know what makes this person happy. They know what makes this person excited. And so if they just use those things and get this person to like them again, they will feel like they are in control of the relationship. Okay. And typically then we transition into the next stage, which is the catch, which is where one person, like I said from the beginning of this video, one person's always running and the other person's always trying to catch the other person. If that process results in someone actually catching the other person, then there's like this very intense magnetic romance that happens, which is the honeymoon stage, which is like, you know, the start of the whole cycle all over again. Or there's like this really intense fight that takes place, and then you either fall into the romance or you fall out of the relationship, and then one person's still running and the other person's still chasing. Okay. And this just happens because again, it's familiar and it's exciting. And that cycle will go over and over and over again. Okay. All right, you guys, that is the end of part 1 of this 3-part series. If you enjoyed this video about attachment style, then I would really encourage you to apply to the program Anxious to Secure in the description box down below, where you can learn how to say goodbye to situationships for good and embrace lasting romantic connections. In the program, it's a 90-day program. You'll convert your anxious attachment style into a secure attachment style and learn how to equip yourself with the essential tools to nurture and endure relationships in 90 days. Okay, you guys, if you are interested in that program, I would really invite you to apply in the description box down below. And that is it for this episode. I love you guys so much. Feel free to follow me on TikTok. My TikTok is at Wanderlust, WANDERLUSQT. And you can also follow me on YouTube, which is Natalie Louise. Okay, you guys, that is it for today's episode, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.